what is this really about? Ultimately, if you're gonna have lasting change in anything, you're really talking about just raising your standards. I mean, I always tell people, if you wanna know how to change your life, I give it to you in 3 words, boring as it sounds: raise your standards. What does that mean? But think about it. Lasting change is different than a goal. You don't always get your goals, but you always get your standards. Maybe it would help you is to think about it this way. I try to explain standards to people with a different set of words. Think of it as everybody in life gets their musts. They don't get their shoulds. But think about it. Most people have a list of shoulds, don't they? Don't you have a list of the shoulds, things you should do, you should follow through on? I should lose some weight, I should work out more, I should make more calls, I should respond more rapidly to my email, whatever, you know? I should get into the office earlier, I should be, more confident. Whatever your should list is, people love to have their should list be met, but it's kind of like New Year's resolutions. If it does, it's really exciting, but if it doesn't, which is most of the time, it's a little disappointing, but you kind of know it's not going to happen. But when you decide something is a must for you, an absolute must, when you cut off any possible, you say, I'm going to find the way, or I'm going to make the way. Human beings, when they resolve things, when they make a real resolution inside themselves, which is they raise the standard and they make it a must, they find the way. Think about it in your own life. Haven't you had some area of your life where you raise your standard and your life has never been the same? Maybe at one time in your life you smoked cigarettes, or you did something and you did it for years and you kept trying to change it, and kept telling yourself, I should. And then one day something happened. Something just clicked you over. Something took you over that kind of tipping point. And inside yourself, you said, no more. And it was a very, very different experience, wasn't it? Something inside of you shifted. And what was a should became a must, and you've never gone back. Is there an area like that in your life you can think of? Again, did you ever smoke cigarettes? Did you ever eat a certain way, drink a certain form of alcohol, and then finally say no more, and you just don't go back? And notice this, it doesn't really take any willpower anymore. Because somewhere when we make this click, when we make something a must, we attach ourselves to it. It becomes part of our identity. And one thing I've learned in the last, 33 years of working with people from now over 100 countries, 4 million people, is human beings absolutely follow through on who they believe they are. If you said to me, well, I'm really going to work hard to stop smoking, but I've been a smoker my whole life, and I am a smoker. I know your days are numbered. You're going to be back smoking cigarettes again, because we all act consistent with who we believe we are. I tell people the strongest force in the whole human personality is this need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. If you define yourself as somebody who is really conservative, you're not going to be crazy and act nuts unless you're really drunk or something, and then you can say it's the alcohol, when it's really just you finally getting permission to be yourself. The alcohol is your excuse. If you're a really crazy person, you act crazy, outrageous, playful. You don't act conservative because that's not who you are. Very often people say, well, I can't do that. I'm not that kind of person. And I always say to people, really, when did you define yourself? I mean, really, how many years ago did you come up with what you could and couldn't do in your life? How many years ago? Most people, if they really look at how they're living their life today, it's based on a set of standards, a set of beliefs that they made choices about 10, 20, 30 or more years ago. I mean, very often we made decisions in our youth or very young about what to believe, about what we were capable of, about who we are as a person, and that becomes the glass ceiling, if you will, that controls us. There's a corny metaphor, but it's true. I remember one time I was with my family at the circus, and there was a person there, and they had this big giant elephant, and you look at this elephant, and they take this little rope, put it around the elephant's neck, and they drive this stake into the ground. And I mean, you look at this and you know that elephant could rip down the entire tent with almost no effort. And yet the elephant doesn't struggle, doesn't try. Why? Because the elephant's conditioned. And they take that elephant and condition the elephant when it's a baby elephant. That's how they train him. When it's a little baby elephant and it doesn't have the power yet, they put a big rope around it and they drive this huge stake in the ground, and the elephant fights and fights and fights. And one day, finally, that elephant decides, I'm not capable of pulling this out. And once that becomes the definition of an identity of anyone, an elephant in this case, they don't even try anymore. It's just who I am, that's how it is, that's just the way it is in my life. I'd like to ask you to take a look at any place you've got a limitation and ask yourself, when did I decide to accept that limitation? And you may not even see it as a limitation. You might see it as just, that's who I am. But so often in our lives, we've adapted to be a certain way so that we don't fail or so that people will like us or respect us, but it's not necessarily who we are. Joy comes when you're spontaneous. It's really hard to be truly happy when you're not being yourself. And most of us have no clue who we are. And so a big part of my work, if you've ever been to an event, you know, is to get people to do things spontaneously without thinking, because that's when the real you shows up. That's when the energy comes alive. And when you do that, when you start to connect to your true nature, suddenly there's energy available for you to set a higher standard for what you want in your life. That's what this is really all about. And when I talk about standards, when I talk about, shoulds versus musts, think about your own life. I know there have been areas in your life where some point in time you just shifted and you raised the standard and your life changed. Because whatever people have their identity attached to, they live. We live who we believe we are. That's just how it works. It's just kind of like, I'll give you an example. Look at your physical body. Your physical body today is an absolute reflection of only one thing, not your goals, not your desires, but your standards. The identity you have for yourself. If your standard is you're an athlete, then there's a certain amount of strength, a muscle tone, and energy that's available in your body on a regular basis because that's who you are. And so you do whatever's necessary to maintain that identity. Again, the strongest force in the human personality is this need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. Because if you don't know who you are, you wouldn't know how to act. Once you lock in on that identity, your brain finds a way to keep you there. If you say, man, I'm overweight, I've always been overweight, I'm big boned, and that's the story you've got, then you're gonna always find a way to get back there. That's your settling point. That's your identity. That's where things lock in. If you see somebody who's in really great shape, you ask them, do you work out? You know the answer. Yes, how often? And they'll tell you 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a week, whatever. In a seminar, I'll ask people, who here works out at least 5 days a week? And I'm stand up. And you look around that room, and you know that they work out 5 times a week because you can see their body. You don't just get a result without some kind of action, without some form of ritual. Ritual meaning actions you do consistently. Now, do you think those people that are out there working out 5 days a week, do they have more time than you do? Or I have, or anybody else? Of course not. Is their life less busy? Of course not. It's just a must for them. They must work out that way, and they've made that turn in their life change. So I'm not saying you have to work out 5 days a week. I'm just saying whatever you really want, wants don't get met consistently. Standards do. Whatever you identify, this is who I am. And so it's not so much about changing your identity as there's expanding it. Deciding that, instead of your goals to lose 10 pounds, which is not compelling, what if your vision was to get back to my fighting weight? This year, this month, this next 90 days, I'm going to transform my body. I'm going to take on a new challenge. I'm going to find some technique or strategy, there's a million of them, that can reframe myself where I want to feel younger, stronger, more vibrant than ever before. Here's my reasons, because I want the energy to really make my life work. Because it's tough out there and I want to be stronger than I've ever been before. I want to go in front of the mirror and if I'm naked, not, want to laugh. I want to look there and take a good look and go, yeah, I'm proud of whatever I see there. Whatever it takes, something's going to make you laugh, smile, something's going to tease yourself, but something's going to move you to another level. If you identify yourself in a new way and you own that every day, and that becomes the standard of how you live, you'll find the way to make that standard real. Money's the same way. Think about it. It doesn't matter what's happening, quote unquote, in the marketplace. People that make money find a way to make money no matter what, don't they? I mean, most people's standard is to pay their bills. So that's what most people find a way to do, even when economic times get tough. Most people, if that's their absolute standard, they find a way. Some people's standard is pay their bills most of the time. And so most of the time they do. Some people's standard is not just to pay their bills, but to take care of their family and maybe even some of their friends. And they find a way. In fact, some people may be in a family where they don't have enough money. They barely have money to pay their bills. They work their guts out. And then somebody, their mother, their father, somebody else, their sister gets ill, and there's not enough money to take care of it. Nobody else has money in the family. They don't either, but they find a way to get that money to take care of their mother or father, don't they? And pay their bills. They never could do it before. Why? The situation made them raise their own standard. And not everybody does that. Somebody else in the family might have money and still not take care of their mother. It all comes down to the inner game, my friends. Changing your life is a change in the inner game. The outside world you can't control, but you have absolute control over this one if you learn the dynamics of what shapes you. Now, once you're totally focused and you know what you want, what your goal is, you know where you are and where you want to go. You understand where the gap is. That's healthy. Now, the second thing you need for you, the second pillar for sustainable success, think of these, if you would, as like, what does it take to have success last? What does it take to make a change last? Well, the first thing you need is this focus, where you know what you want and why you want it, and you're driven and you're hungry and you're committed and you got all your energy into it. We help you to do that. Secondly, though, you got to put yourself in this place where you get the right skills. You need the right strategies. You need a map on how to get from where you are to where you really want to be. And a lot of people have a lousy map. The metaphor I use is before Google came along, we used to have MapQuest, and if you typed in the address you wanted to go from MapQuest and it printed out and you actually followed it, you usually got lost. The map was out of date. Well, today, most people's map about how to get from where they are to where they want to be financially is out of date. The economy has changed, and they don't know what to do to take advantage of this time. There are people doing really well right now. They don't know what to do to turn around their business. They tried so many things, don't work. They've given up on their body or their relationship. They've settled for a relationship where you loved each other, you're friends, but there's not deep love or not deep passion. Love and passion can be there, or even finding the right person. People settle for jobs. 45% of our population doesn't like their work. They don't like their job. It's not a mission, it's not a direction for them. These things can change, though, when you get somebody who's a coach who's done it with millions of other people to show you how to go from here to there. There's some common pathways, there's some common strategies, but you need a strategy that works and it's proven. If your strategy for losing weight is to go on some crazy diet, it's not going to last. And yet that's what most people do. They have strategies that are not sustainable. And oftentimes the strategies you learn they don't require a radical change in you. They just require doing the right thing a little differently. Sometimes people even do the right thing at the wrong time, and then they get frustrated. If you bought a home in 2006, buying a home might be the right thing. 2006 was the wrong time, at least in the US. So strategy and timing are everything, and I've spent 3 decades basically modeling people that have the most successful changes in their life, physically and emotionally, in relationships and finances and career, and said, what do they have in common? What do they do? What works? Let's do that. It's proven. Now, if you know what it is you really want and you give it total focus, and then you've got strategies that are absolutely proven to work, then is that all you need? Well, you would think it would be. But there are people, I'm sure that know what they want and why they want it, and they know how to go get it, but they aren't doing anything. That's because they're missing the third pillar of sustainable success. Now, if you know what it is you really want and you give it total focus, and then you've got strategies that are absolutely proven to work, then is that all you need? Well, you would think it would be. But there are people, I'm sure that know what they want and why they want it, and they know how to go get it, but they aren't doing anything. That's because they're missing the third pillar of sustainable success. And without 2 pillars, a 2-legged stool doesn't stand real well, does it? You got to at least have 3. That third one is you've got to eliminate the inner conflicts. You've got to kind of unlock and unleash. Unlock these conflicts and unleash yourself again. And what I mean by these conflicts is that when you go to an event, what you're going to discover is it's not that hard for me to change my body or change my relationship or get the economics that I really deserve or make a shift in any area of life. Not that difficult in terms of complexity. The difficulty is that we have these mixed emotions. Part of you wants to make everybody happy and please everybody, and you also want to be true to yourself, and there's a conflict there. You want to be totally financially successful, and you don't want anybody to judge you. Ain't going to happen. They're going to judge you because they have their own challenges within themselves. You want to be in a position where constantly you could really go for this goal, but simultaneously your fear pulls you back. And so you've got this conflict between your desire and your fear. Inner conflicts make people take 3 steps forward and 5 steps backwards. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. It's what makes people sabotage themselves. It's not that all the good ones are gone. It's not that the good times are gone. The reason you're not getting what you want is there's inner conflict, and that is my specialty, is helping you to figure out what it is and be able to shift it very quickly and create an alignment in you so that every part of you is focused, you got the right strategy, and every part of you wants to move forward, and then you will. You'll be pulled towards what you want instead of trying to push your way to where you want to get. You're going to get exhausted if you try to just use willpower to make lasting change. It doesn't work. Push doesn't last. Pull. Having something attract you and pull you forward, is a shift that happens inside of us, and I've got a process that over a few days will happen that'll make you feel a sense of excitement and passion and aliveness. It'll give you the pull so that you can make those lasting changes. And ultimately, if you get those 3 pillars in place, total clarity what you want and why you want it, put yourself in an environment where you really connect the emotion to that, that'll drive you when things get tough. The skill sets and strategies that save you decades because someone else has spent all the trial and error to figure it out, and they've proven it, and they've lost that weight, and they've kept it off, or they've turned around that business, or they've made the economics happen, and they've shown you the pathway, the shortcut. And then just making sure all of you is aligned. When those things are aligned, you make things happen. I mean, think about it. The areas that you do really well in, you're focused on, you know what to do, and there's no part of you holding you back. And that's why you succeed. Till then, live strong and live with passion. See you soon.